Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, this is a video people are probably expecting me to be excited about. This is something that people are expecting me to come out here and be like, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever. You know, point blank, end of discussion. And I'll give it to you. At the current point in time, I actually believe that. I'm just gonna call it what it is. I know I've been a Jordan stan for a long time, but he scored 40,000 points, and so now I feel obligated to give it to him because 40,000 is just fucking unheard of. However, with that being said, I would be lying to you if I said I didn't feel incredibly skeptical about everything LeBron James is doing as of like probably the past year and a half or so. You know, there's only been 10 players in the NBA in the history of the league to play 20 seasons. Literally none of them have played as well as LeBron James has in their 19th and 20th years. And if we look at some of the guys on that list, okay, we've got Dirk Nowitzki, we've got Kevin Garnett, we've got Kobe Bryant, we've got Vince Carter, Robert Parrish, we've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? None of those guys in the history of the league, none of those guys played as well in their 18th, 19th, and 20th years as LeBron James has. Literally not a single fucking soul since the inception of the NBA, okay, has done what LeBron James is doing at 39. And while 40,000 points is an incredible feat, I will say that, like, it's something I never thought I'd ever see. I didn't think anybody could even score 39,000 points, let alone get 40. And by the time LeBron James is done, he'll probably have closer to 43, 44,000 if he plays another 2 or 3 years. The problem is I really, really struggle to wrap my head around the idea that a guy at 39 years old is playing this fucking well. And I know this video is going to come off haterish, and that's fine, but I'm going to just let you know, okay? I may be a small YouTube channel, but I talk to people, okay? I am not the only one who is becoming skeptical of LeBron James. And, you know, I feel a little bit about this like I did as a kid when I watched Barry Bonds hit his 756th home run. And at the time, I was in middle school, and I was actually very much involved with baseball. Like, once Derek Jeter retired, I stopped caring about it. But I can remember watching Barry Bonds hit his 756th home run live and think to myself, like, holy fuck. Like, how is this even possible, right? That's how I feel about LeBron James scoring 40,000 points. And I wish I could say it's a good thing, but it's not. You know, a lot of people that I know, and it's not even just people in the YouTube community, it's people in real life who are like, how the fuck does he keep doing it? Like, when does it stop? You know? And while I'll admit, it is very impressive. It's one of the most impressive things in sports history. I would say the most impressive thing in sports history. Like, the idea that he came in the NBA out of fucking high school and is now 39 years old and is still at the top of his game, still a top 10 player in the league. At some point, you know, you have to start telling yourself, like, okay, like, this is getting a little too good to be true. You know, usually when there's smoke, there is fire. And myself, along with many others, are like, you know, how the fuck does he keep doing it? And the one thing that I think stands out the most to me, and this is just my opinion, right? This is strictly me. The thing that makes me not sold about it is Kobe Bryant. That's the thing that makes me not sold about it, okay? Because Kobe Bryant was the first guy in the gym, last guy to leave the gym, and he made sure of it. Like, Kobe Bryant was one of, if not the most competitive motherfucker to ever play basketball, okay? The idea that even Kobe Bryant, now, granted, Kobe Bryant had a lot of more serious injuries in his career than LeBron James has had, which I would also say is, like, kind of bizarre. Even Kobe Bryant, in his last couple years, was not the same player, okay? And I can't wrap my head around the idea that a guy like Kobe Bryant, who is way more competitive than LeBron James is, by the way, okay? Like, I think we can all agree, Kobe Bryant was a fucking killer, okay? Kobe Bryant wanted to rip your head off your fucking shoulders when he went out there and lined up against you, right? For all of LeBron James's career, we can't say that about LeBron James. Okay, like, I'm sorry, but if you were to make me take Kobe Bryant versus LeBron James in one-on-one, I'd probably take Kobe. Like, if like, I'm being honest. Like, I think that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, definitively at this point after scoring 40,000 points. But if they were to play run the ones to 12 in a best of 3, I honestly think Kobe Bryant would win. Like, that's, like, if he were here today, he's not here to defend himself, unfortunately, God rest his soul. But for me, I'm like, I really think Kobe Bryant would beat him. So I think to myself, right, like, how is it that a guy like, you know, and some of the other people on that list, there's only been 10 players in the NBA in history to play 20 seasons. You know, you look at the people on that list, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dirk Nowitzki, right? Vince Carter, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. LeBron is the only one out of all of them. You got Robert Parrish. LeBron is the only one out of all of them who is still playing like he's fucking 28, 29 years old at damn near 40. And there's a lot of other people out there in the YouTube community who think the same way I think, but are just afraid to say it because they don't want to ruin their fucking channels. And I understand that. Like, that's why, you know, like, that's the benefit of me being such a small channel, is like, I just don't really give a fuck, right? But I think to myself, I constantly go back to the Mitchell Report. If you don't know what the Mitchell Report is, the Mitchell Report was a big list that came out, and I think it was 03 or 07 in the MLB, where they got like 85 current and former MLB players who had done steroids. The Mitchell Report came out, and it was a fucking bombshell, man. Like, I can remember as a child, like, just constantly hearing the Mitchell Report. Like, it felt like for an entire year or a year and a half, all I heard about was the Mitchell Report. You know, Alex Rodriguez, Nomar Garciaparra, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, you know, like, pretty much like all the biggest names in baseball at the time were basically on the list. Or like some of the former greatest players of all time were like on the list. And I know people would think like, oh, well, you know, like if Bobo just has one good game and they drug test him. And I would normally agree with you on that, you know, like, because that's happened. You know, Bobo had one good game, I think, when he played for the Orlando Magic or the Denver Nuggets, and they fucking drug tested him immediately afterwards. The only guy that I have no recollection of ever getting drug tested is LeBron James. And even if he has been drug tested, right, the league is not going to make it public. And especially with the way the league is now. Now, normally I would say LeBron James doesn't have any incentive to do performance-enhancing drugs. He's a billionaire, right? He's easily top 2 greatest players of all time, you know, depending on who you ask. Everybody's got their subjective opinion on it. I don't think LeBron James needed to do PEDs in the beginning to middle parts of his career. But I think now, the idea that the money is where it is, you know, he's trying to break records, he wants to play with his son. If there were ever an incentive for him to do it, it would be now, right? Like the CBA gets bigger and bigger every fucking year. The TV deals are fucking insane. I mean, like, you got guys like Jaylen Brown making $300 million, right? Like, we're talking Steph Curry money. Jaylen Brown's getting Steph Curry money. He's getting Giannis Antetokounmpo money, Luka Doncic money, right? And I think to myself, if Jaylen Brown is worth $300 million, what is Luka Doncic worth? You know, what is a LeBron James worth? What is a Giannis Antetokounmpo worth? 350? 320? 330? Right? And I think to myself, if you're the NBA, the last thing you want is a Mitchell report. Because not only would it ruin sponsorships, it would ruin TV deals, it would ruin brand deals for the players, it would ruin players' careers, it would ruin players from getting another contract, right? And I keep going, and like, this is going to sound conspiracy theory wise, and that's fine. You know, that's kind of the purpose of this video. It's kind of a giant conspiracy theory, but I keep thinking back to that book that George Carl put out. I was in high school or middle school when it came out. I think it's called Angry George or something like that. And while I will admit, George Carl doesn't have the greatest reputation in the NBA. Okay, I'm in no way, shape, or form, you know, saying that he's a stand-up model human being. Okay, because DeMarcus Cousins, I think, didn't fucking like him, and it turns out a lot of players didn't fucking like George Carl. But I keep going back to that in the back of my head. I keep it back there like, dude, a fucking coach made a book saying that steroids is running rampant in the NBA. And, you know, the idea that these players go to Germany and they go to all these other countries and then they come back the next season and all of a sudden they've gained 15, 20 pounds worth of fucking muscle over the summer. And you know, suddenly they're doing shit that they weren't doing before. And one of the things that I look at, right, is I look at a guy like Giannis. And I love watching Giannis play. Giannis is one of my favorite basketball players to watch. But I do remember there was a time where it's like, you know, Giannis over the summer one year just like came back and he was fucking huge. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, where did Giannis get like 15 to 20 lean pounds of muscle over the offseason? You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where like you look at these guys and it's like I've seen dudes who go to the gym and work out who are natural, right? Like I'm at a point now where I can kind of tell the difference between somebody who's natural and who's not, right? I look at some of these NBA players and I'm like, he doesn't look natural at all. Like dude, his fucking arms are bigger than his fucking head. This dude's got to wear a button-off wife beater. You know what I'm saying? I mean, anytime you got to go to Pottery Barn to get a straw hat, my guy, like like these people got big ass fucking heads and shit. It's just like when I see things like that, I can't help but be skeptical. And there's a lot of other people who are becoming very skeptical. And I just think to myself, if the NBA ever had a Mitchell report where you get guys on that list like Giannis, John Morant, maybe even Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, guys like that, right? If you get a Mitchell report and all of a sudden it comes out that like half your fucking league is doping, that's going to ruin the integrity and the reputation of the NBA. And if you're the commissioner of the NBA or any big sports league, right? I would think at some, like maybe the NFL, you know, would be like, you know, I mean, that's a physical contact sport, but it's just the idea. If you're Adam Silver and you're getting all these TV branding deals and sponsorships, you know, you got sponsorships on jerseys and shit now where you didn't have that before. Like, you know, Mr. Beast has his fucking logo on the Charlotte Hornets jersey, okay, for Beastables or whatever the fuck they're called, Feastables, I don't know what they're called, but it's just the idea, like, when you think about it, it's like with the amount of money that is now wrapped up in the NBA in sports betting, in player contracts, in TV deals, in collective bargaining agreements, while the game itself might not be at an all-time high, like, because I think we can all agree defense is just, like, the defense is so bad that Adam Silver's looking to make changes to them. But when you look at the league and you see the amount of money that goes in and out of this fucking league these days, while the quality of the sport might not be at its peak as to what it was maybe, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the viewership is the highest that it's ever been. And like I said, when you got guys cashing checks, over 5 years for 300 bands, okay, suddenly, okay, if this guy's, doing something he's not supposed to, just keep it hush-hush. We don't need that. The league doesn't need that, right? And what I worry most about is like Tristan Thompson, who was a teammate of LeBron James, by the way. Tristan Thompson just got popped for steroids or performance-enhancing drugs and had a 25-game suspension. I just see things where I just think to myself, while it might not happen during LeBron James's playing career, it might happen post-playing career, but even if it did, right, I feel like that would hurt the league. I feel like it would be detrimental to the league. Because, let's be honest, right, if LeBron James is now the league's all-time leading scorer, if it came out that LeBron James did steroids, suddenly everyone's going to think the record book is tainted. Like, do you realize how fucked up that is? Like, do you realize how big of an impact that would have on the league? I don't think people understand. Like, to know that your leading scorer, the poster boy of your league for the last 20 years, okay, breaks countless fucking records, right? Suddenly, he gets Lance Armstrong, he gets Barry Bonds, he gets Mark McGwire, he gets Sammy Sosa. Do you realize what that would do to the NBA? Suddenly, everybody would think the record books are illegitimate. So at that point, people would be like, what's the point of the records? What's the point of watching the sport if everybody's fucking juiced and not natural and doing all this other shit? And I'm not saying that it is. Obviously, I'm not saying that it is, but the question is certainly being raised. Like, in small conversation circles, this is a conversation that's being had. And, I never thought about it until a guy I work with who's a social worker, like, we were talking, a couple security guards at work and stuff, when LeBron James scored 40,000, the first thing to come out of everybody's mouth, and I didn't say nothing, by the way, like, I didn't say a fucking thing. The first thing to come out of, like, one of the social workers' mouths and the security guards' mouths, who, by the way, respect the shit out of LeBron James, one of them is even his favorite player, even he was like, he scored 40 grand, but I think he's doing something he's not supposed to. And when it gets to a point where even fans of him are saying, like, yeah, like, I think he's doing something that's illegal, or maybe, is just being kept hush-hush, the question is certainly being raised. That's all that I'm saying. And honestly, I hope it's legit. I really do. Because honestly, the NBA is at its peak. Like, I don't think people understand this as well. Like, this would impact what I do on YouTube. Like, I can't make videos on basketball if there's no fucking interest in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't come out here and make videos on basketball if people just wake up one Monday morning and decide, okay, well, I don't care about the NBA anymore because everybody's a fucking cheater, right? That's the problem. That's the problem with the whole thing, is the idea that, like, you don't want people looking at the NBA as if it's just full of cheaters like they do with baseball, or like they did with baseball anyway. It took years for the MLB to recover from that. I don't think people understand, like, as a kid, like, I remember there was only a handful of players in the league that people thought didn't do steroids at that point. Like, I remember it was Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, all these guys. Everybody was like, if you were good at baseball in any capacity, like, after the Mitchell report came out, everybody was questioned. Like, everybody was questionable. And once you get to that, like, once you have that in your league where every fucking player is questionable, suddenly people stop caring. And I don't want that, and I don't need that, but it's just the idea. It's the reason I'm skeptical. I'm just going to let you know. It's the reason I'm saying. Great feat. I'm just going to say, like, 40,000 points, great feat. I hope it's fucking legit. That's all I'm saying. And there's going to be people who go down in my comment section and are like, you're a fucking hater, you're a fucking Jordan stan, you're this, you're that. You can say that. That's fine. I don't care. But I'm just letting you know, it's a conversation that's being had at the moment. So tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report. I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.